Go. I'm Peter Watson from the Save the Railway Path campaign, and I'm here to interview Nick Yarker from the Conservatives.
My name's Nick Yarker. I'm the prospective Conservative Member of Parliament for Bristol West.
Nick, you were just saying that you travel to work by bicycle. What does that add to your quality of life, and do you enjoy it?
Well, I do, except when I'm in danger of being run over. So sometimes you have to take your life in your hands in order to have the quality of life of cycling, and that's why the path that we're standing on now, the Bristol to Bath cycle path, is so incredibly important, because not only is it one of the longest and best used bits of cycle path, it's also very special in character, because as you see we have the trees and the grass and all of the green spaces, so it's not just a piece of tarmac on the side of a motorway. It's actually somewhere really very different in character, in the middle of what is a very kind of big urban environment. It really is a kind of a green lung in the middle of the city, and that's what we need to preserve. So cycling on this path is a family experience, which I think is really enhancing the quality of life, rather more than some of my fly by the seat of your pants cycling when you're having to dodge the aggressive traffic. Well, I think the Conservative Party on the City Council is developing some specific policies to make sure that we get a sensible transport policy, but broadly what that is going to mean is making sure that we work incredibly hard to improve the bus service that we have. At the moment it's patchy and unreliable. There are large bits of the city that are not covered by the bus service, so it's quite difficult to get to your destination, and also the bus service is expensive. So I think we need to focus very carefully on that. We need to focus on making sure that we remove bottlenecks so that we keep the traffic moving, because there are people who have to use cars, even though obviously we would like to encourage all of the forms of transport. The Conservative group on the council has backed a motion encouraging the use of citywide network of cycle lanes, which I think is an incredibly important thing, because vital though this cycle path is, it's a much stronger thing if it's connected to a real network of cycle lanes. So there are a whole range of things that we need to look at.
Do you think investing in dedicated bus lanes and funding that from the tax system is a good idea?
I think it's one of the possibilities that needs to be looked at. As we know from some of the proposals for the cycle lane at the moment, that's not always the right solution, because in this case it might mean that you lose some of the cycle path. So it's something that you shouldn't rule out, and something that you should look at carefully in each individual case. We'll have a manifesto at the election that will kind of cover the details of it. What I'm here to do today is to support the principle of looking after areas like this cycle path, and making sure that they do form a really important part of Bristol's kind of transport mix. I think it's hugely important. I lived for 5 years over in Clifton, just next to Bristol Zoo, and Bristol is incredibly blessed in some areas to have wonderful green places which really act as an incredibly civilising influence on the city, and do an immeasurable amount of good to encourage people's quality of life. In areas here, Lawrence Hill, we're not so lucky and don't have quite so many, which is why I think it's incredibly important to preserve those areas that we do have. I was just walking here this morning along the canal, and it was it's a small green strip, but it was full of fishermen who were enjoying their kind of Sunday morning fish. And this is exactly the same with this cycle path. We've seen the cyclists going past and the families going past, and we need to preserve that and do what we can to encourage green spaces throughout the city. A big part of that is a problem we're seeing in other cities, particularly in London, are issues like garden grabbing, where planning laws are actually meaning that gardens are disappearing and being built on, and I think it's very important that we make sure that doesn't happen.